All right, another episode of our daily notebook, and you are going to need scissors, glue stick, your notebook, and here are the 2 pages. I have already previously sent those to you, so please make sure that you have those 2 pages. And they can be side by side like what I have. Obviously, I'm going to have to turn my notebook this way, so we're ready to go. So it looks like this. You should have that page already. I believe it was sent in last week's pickup. So please make sure to have that, and so we can get started. We have percent equations. And so we're going to start with a question mark. And so basically what we're doing here is we're going to say, what does what really mean? Well, when we say what, that is the number we are looking for as an answer. Okay? So whenever you have the word what that it comes up, we want to think about it as that is the number we are looking for as an answer. Truthfully, we're going to use a variable to give us the answer. And variables, as you may recall, can be an X, a Y, a Z, a T, a Q, any letter at all. Okay? All right, the is. Well, what does that look like? Is always means equal sign, an equal sign. And I'm going to get a little fancy and creative here. I'm going to actually tip it on the side. I'm going to put equal sign. There it is, equal sign. And I'm going to draw a bunch of equal signs to say equal sign, equal sign, equal sign. Now, you've heard me say this before, if you had me in 3rd grade, and hopefully you recall that of, whenever we see the word of, means multiplication. So go ahead and write multiplication on this here. All right. Now, someone also made a good point. Really, it just means times. Yeah, you're right. But I like the fancy word of multiplication. Or we can say multiply them. Remember, if I'm going too fast, to stop and pause it whenever you feel the need to stop and review what we've covered. We have the percent sign. Now, I'm going to put a step 1 here. We're going to rewrite words as equation. And the second rule that we have to remember is to solve the equation. Now, percent, what do we want to do? We want to change it to a decimal form. Decimal form. Really, if you recall, that means to move the decimal over. Which way? 2 places, always 2 places. But is it left or right? It's to the left. All right, 2 places to the left. If you have that page, we are ready to rock and roll to page 2 in our notes. Page 2 looks like this. It says practice the percent equations, just what we got done going over. What we're going to do is we're going to think about what. Well, what tells us a variable? So I'm going to use, how about the letter T? That's my variable. That's what I'm solving for. Is the equal sign. 15%, we don't want it as a percent. We want it now as a decimal. So 15% looks like this. Of, well, guess what? I've heard there's many ways to write times, because we might not want to use the X. We're going to be way cooler. We're going to use just the dot in the middle there. And then, of course, 350 comes down. So if we're to solve this, we times 0.15 or 15 hundredths times 350. Solve. And take your calculator if you have one. If not, here is the answer. 52 5/10. Squiggly little line like looks like that means about or close to 53. There you have it. That's the first one that we've kind of wrote with the words in mathematical terms. 18 is just 18. What does is mean? Is means equal sign. When you see a percent, you want to change it to what format? That's right, decimal. So the decimal format is just 2/10. Of means times. We're going to throw that dot back in there. What is the variable? So this time I'm going to use, how about the letter B? I don't know. Sounds like a good letter for us to use. The variable of B. What number? So solve. Now, if this is connected right here by multiplication, what's the opposite of multiplication? Guessed it correctly, division. So I'm going to take 18 and divide it by my decimal, and I get the answer now of 90. Okay? There we have it. Now, this one down here, I'm going to make a note. So I'm going to turn my little book sideways and put note. It's very important that this question right here. So when I say this one is asking for an answer in percent form. Okay? Because that's what it's saying here. What? Well, what is the variable? So they're saying what percent? So we're going to put down, how about let's go with how about a Z percent? Like, some percent. Don't know what it is. Of means times. 145 just drops down. Is means equals 35. So we're saying some percent. This could be 25% of 145 is 35. It could be 50% of 145 is 35. Don't know what it is. So how are we going to solve it? We're going to solve it like this. We're going to go Z. Now, remember, we have it connected here by multiplication. So Z equals 35 divided by 145. And if you take your calculator to figure this out, you should have a really, really large decimal that looks about like this. And we can kind of round it. Now remember, this is in a decimal. I want to get it to a percent, so I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2. So I'm going to tell you to round. And my answer becomes about, forgot my squiggly lines there, 24 1/10%. About 24 1/10%. This one, this is a story problem. It reads 15% of the class is 40. 15% of the class of 40 is going home early. How many students are going home early? So they're asking, what is 15% of 40? Really, remember, the x is like my unknown. That's what I'm solving for. Is the equal 15%, because when it's no longer percent, we want it as a decimal. So we have 0.15 or 15 hundredths. Of means times. Oh, I'm going to use the asterisk now because I already used the x. And might get confusing. See how that is? 40. And if you solve that out, you'll get 6 students. Big S, little s, students. You might recall that. Liz has added 20% of the total amount of acid that she needs in the beaker for her experiment. She has put in 10 milliliters so far. How much does she need to add? Well, it's saying 10 is 20% of what number? Okay? Well, 10 equals 20% is, 2/10 of, I'm going to put my dot in there. What number? Well, what is that variable? So let's go ahead and use, how about B for beaker? Because that's what we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve for that. Well, you might say, well, how do we solve? Well, they're connected by what? Multiplication, so divide. and you should get the answer to be 50 milliliters. Make sure you solve so you know how to solve that one. There is my second page. There you have it. That is our 2 pages. Thank you for following along.